Sure. Hello everyone, happy Thursday. Thank you so much for joining us for our theater chat today. I hope you're enjoying the weather, it's absolutely glorious. My name is Lily Wolf. I'm the New Works Associate here at Chautauqua Theater Company, and it's a pleasure to introduce you to our guest speakers today. I'll tell you more about them in just a little bit, but we are going to be talking about our new play lab today, Erasers, which is coming up this weekend. And we have with us the playwright, Jenny Connell-Davis, the director, Bronwyn Carson, and of course our producing artistic director at CTC, Jade King Carroll. I'll tell you more about them all momentarily. Yes, let's clap for them. Thank you for that. It has been a very busy week in the theater, and it's only getting busier. We opened our world premiere commission, Best for Baby, last night. Thank you to some of the familiar faces who were there and who celebrated with us. Next week we have our second new play workshop of the season, The Motions by Zora Howard, which is also a CTC commissioned play going into rehearsal. And of course, this weekend, New Play Lab 2, Erasers, a Bloodthirsty Comedy, from this incredible team of artists here. We have shows on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and I will tell you, the Road Green Theater Center has been selling out consistently. Yeah. So if there's yes, we love it. If there's a particular time you want to make sure you get in there, I highly recommend you get your ticket in advance. We do hate to disappoint people by not being able to accommodate you, so please get your ticket in advance. The New Play Lab will then go back into rehearsal, running alternate days with our first New Play Lab, and then they will both be remounted on August 1st, which is our big industry day where we invite theater professionals from across the country to come and see the incredible new work that's happening here at Chautauqua. When they come, they stay on the grounds or near the grounds, and they take in all we have to offer. So if you miss it this weekend, or if you want to take in the changes that are to come, then join us on August 1st. And now, without further ado, let's get to the Erasers team. Wobbly, please hold. Okay. So we have playwright Jenny Connell-Davis. I'm going to tell you a little bit about her. Jenny is the playwright in residence and the former literary manager, love that, at Palm Beach Drama Works, where she was responsible for their annual Pearlburg Festival of New Plays. Thanks for giving me a job in January, I appreciate that. Erasers, a bloodthirsty comedy, was initially developed through a residency at Chicago's Court Theater. Her other plays include Scientific Method, which was a JAF nominee for Best Play, The Messenger, which received an NAPN Rolling World Premiere, is still receiving the Rolling World Premiere, is that still going on? Amazing, we love to hear it. Matinicus, a Lighthouse play, which won Outstanding New Play at the from the Orange County Theater Guild. I Want to Be an Effing Princess, which I've been trying to figure out how to say that title at this point. That's what I'm going with. Which won a BI Pain Award. And Anton Chekhov is a Tasty Snack. Jenny makes really great play titles. She's currently adapting Matinicus into a novel form for Island Port Press. Her plays have been developed or produced with the O'Neill, ACT in Seattle, the Gift Theater, Osceola Rep, New York Stage and Film, and Space at Ryder Farm, among many others. She's been commissioned by Palm Beach Drama Works, Chance Theater, Penn Bull Theater, I love this tradition, Stonington Opera House, Phillips Academy, and Ars Nova. From 2022 to 2024, Jenny served as the in-house writer for Baobab Studios and developed stories across TV, film, books, games, and virtual reality. Her short films, I have to get better at this page-turning business. Her short films have been screened at festivals worldwide. She adapted Jennifer Weiner's, yes? What? Weiner's?
I wish I could tell you. I think it's Weiner.
Weiner.
I think they pronounce it Weiner.
but it was called The Little Bigfoot on Fox, and has developed other projects for Amazon, Anonymous Content, Disney, Good Fear, and Sony. No big deal. She's an affiliate artist and former co-writer with the Playwright Center, and she was a writer-in-residence at Baltimore's Center Stage Theater, and a member of the Hyde Park Theater and Ars Nova playgroups. She trained as an actor at Court Theater and Steppenwolf Theaters in Chicago, and in playwriting at UT Austin, where she now lives with her family. Bronwyn, I know, right? All the things, and I'm about to do it for you too. Here we go. Bronwyn is an award-winning generative director, writer, and interdisciplinary visual artist who began her artistic journey as a classical dancer. Innately drawn to atmospheric, thought-provoking stories that explore borderlands between pathologization and valorization, she creates dream-like spaces that weave the rigors of neuropsychology and sociology research with the intuitive traditions of folklore and myth. And you are definitely going to see that at play on stage this weekend. Her work has been supported by the Directors Lab at the Actors Studio, Sarasvati Creative Space, the Drama League, Burning Coal Theatre, Irondale, the Ross Foundation, the Rona Jaffe Award, the New York International Fringe Festival, the Ailey Center, Skirball, the Dramatists Guild, and the Sundance Institute, again, among many others. Her off-Broadway credits include work at the Treehouse, the Connolly Theatre, Here Arts, Neighborhood Playhouse, Gloria Maddox, and regionally has worked frequently at Burning Coal Theatre as well as Howland Cultural Center. Bronwyn's directed several films, including Has Anyone Seen Bill? Is it Vera or Vara? Vara, thank you, for Sounding Line. Tunnels Above Ground, as well for Duke Films. Her awards include Best Short Film at the London Vision Film Festival, ARF Director Award at the Amsterdam International Film Festival. You're just all over the world. Outstanding Drama at the, help me with this pronunciation too, Fouquet Film Festival, and Excellence in Directing at the New York International Film Festival. She's also a National Book Award nominee, Unleash Press Award recipient, and a Rona Jaffe Breadlove Scholar recipient for her novel, Magpie. So we certainly have some interdisciplinary artists and wild talent here with us today. I'm going to follow our typical format. I'm going to ask some questions and then turn it over to you for your questions. As you can see, there's a lot to dig into here today. Jade, I want to start with you as you process the full impact of your bios here in the middle of the stage. Jade, this year, obviously, we've expanded our fellows cohort to include playwriting fellows, which is just so the right thing for us to do and makes so much sense. But of course, it's not just expanding the cohort, it's really adding to the DNA of our season 2. Can you speak to the vision behind the new Play Labs and that particular expansion?
Sure. So many of you remember the new play workshops that were fully staged, book in hand. We did it during 1 week. I took that in the past couple of years, instead of doing all 3, we've only been doing 1 as a staged workshop. This year, all 3 of the new play workshops will be at music stands in Bratton still. And taking that vocabulary we had for staged readings and moving it into the Rotary Theater Center, into our new Black Box Center, thinking of expanding what this new building is for, which is new plays and the next generation of theater artists. I said, well, we should expand and have playwriting fellows. One of the things that the new play workshops used to do, and one of the reasons that we started doing them as staged readings in Bratton, was Jane Cox, who was a lighting designer, Broadway lighting designer, used to design here all the time, wanted to start a fellowship program for young designers, because so often our young designers, they only get to assist, and they don't actually get to put what they're learning into practice. So that was something that you saw last year with all the little boxes, or the bleeding classes, or you've seen that in PWs over the past year. So we've taken all of that, and now we have playwriting fellows to work with our design fellows in creating this world building. And a couple years ago, we started partnering with the Drama League. So the Drama League is one of the best institutions for directors, if not the foremost institution for directors in the country. So we partnered with them to be able to expand our directing fellowships. So for the past couple of years, instead of 1, we've had 2 or 3. directing fellows, and this year the directing fellows applied with the playwright and the play through the Drama League. So the Drama League actually absorbs the cost, helps us absorb the cost of the mentor. We bring a mentor in for these projects. They're 2-week workshops, and the Drama League also completely pays for the directors, which is wonderful. We pay for that. So it's a way to expand, and we've also been able to do it because at this time of Chautauqua with reductions, partnerships are really important, and we also wanted to expand with, mission-driven programming. So they get 2 weeks now. They're acted by the Acting Conservatory, designed by the Design Fellows, directed by the Directing Fellows, and written by our Playwriting Fellows. The first week is about staging, really getting into the script, and then the second week, all of the rehearsals happen in the black box. The second week they go into tech, which is where we start working with the design elements, and then there'll be talkbacks. There's 2 shows back to back, but other than that, there's talkbacks between each show and rehearsals so they can respond to the conversation and keep working on the play. And then, when they're not when the directors aren't in the room directing, they're in the room assisting. So it works the same as it does with the actors.
Thank you. And the process of applying for this fellowship with the Drama League is really a director-driven application process. Bronwyn, can you speak to what was it that caught your eye about this fellowship at this particular point in your artistic career? As I showed, you started in classical dance. How is this right for you now, and how did you decide to apply for the fellowship and apply with Jenny?
Yeah, that's a great question. Because I primarily work in either generative work, I'm writing it and creating it simultaneously, or adapting or revising existing works like, Antigone or something like that. I had sort of a gap in my own directorial process for new play development. And so I was really interested in seeing how that could inform my work as a director and also build my relationships within the theater community. Jenny and I met many years ago in New York. I was the movement director for her play Dragonfly, and we just synced up in the rehearsal process. We would sort of lean in at the same time, lean out, kind of look in at each other, and so we had this sort of simpatico. So when I did apply for this fellowship, I thought, okay, I'll contact Jenny, because Jenny will let me know of some exciting up-and-coming playwrights who might be interested in this. So I pitched to Jenny, I'm like, so do you have anyone in mind? And she was like, me. I was like, great, send me what you have. And so she sent me Erasers, and I just cackled as I read it. It felt really exciting and really delicious and very important, dealing with some issues at the time, the increase in control and the infiltration of control from different parties, and I was very excited about that. So that's why this fellowship amongst the Drama League has a lot of different fellowships, but that's why this one in particular. And then when I got to meet Jade during the process, I was like, oh yeah, I would love to be in this artist's world, in this artist's sphere. A very visionary, very passionate, rigorous joy, like not just a thing that Jade says, but embodies every single day in every single room. And I just wanted to be in that, an unapologetic, artistic space where we don't have to pretend that we're cool. We're just like trying to do something important and worthy. So, sorry, that was long-winded. Apologize.
No, that was great. Thank you for that. And actually, Jenny's play, Dragonfly, that these two met on, is for sale in the bookstore and in their Borough Green. So if you are interested in the voice of Erasers and want to read something quite different, pick up Dragonfly and give it a read. Imagine what Bronwyn may have created in that process. Jenny, can you tell, of course, if you want to add anything to what Bronwyn just shared, please do, and please also tell us the origin story of Erasers.
I would also just say I did offer up other options for plays and playwrights every time. I mean, I think it was like 2 days after I had typed the end on the first draft of Erasers and had looked at it and said, the only way to really work on this play is in a room with people. Sometimes as a writer you can get pretty far just in your pajamas, and other times you actually really need other humans at pretty much every step, and this was the latter. So there's sort of a dual origin story for this play. The first is that so I'm a graduate of the University of Chicago and interned at Court Theater, which is the resident theater there on campus, back a while ago. But I've stayed in touch with some folks there, and their leadership was really thinking about what does it mean to be a resident theater at a university? How can we help to use our resources to foster some new work that is somehow in conversation with the kinds of conversations that are happening on campus, both academically and outside of any particular discipline. And they reached out to me and they were just sort of like, hey, if we brought you in for a couple of days, do you want to talk now, and then maybe sometime this summer you can come out for a few days and work on a thing. Let's take some time to think about what that thing would be. And it was really the way, choose any department. It's like, oh, maybe something with the classics department, maybe biology. It was sort of think about anything that might happen on the campus of the University of Chicago and how might you be in conversation with it. One of the big issues on many university campuses, but certainly at the University of Chicago, has been the idea of free speech. And it was every time I talked to them, we could talk about whatever was happening in a department, but clearly there was just a lot coming up within the faculty, but also among students about the idea of free speech. And so at some point, and I, at the same time, was working as a literary manager and working in Hollywood, and felt like pretty much every day I was on either the giving end of, hey, write whatever you want, but there's certain kinds of plays that we're probably going to do, and there's other ones that we don't really have room for right now. And then I was talking to folks in Hollywood, and they were like, you can write whatever you want, but we're only going to buy this. And so it really felt like wherever I turned, this question of what are you allowed to write, for whom, why, what does the world want to see, it was just everywhere. And so this play really came out of my own wrestling with what am I allowed to say, to whom, when, how, and this is what came out of that.
You've shared in the context of the rehearsal process that some of the lines that our friends will hear this weekend from the play are actually pulled from
Real life.
real things that you have been told
Yes.
to make your plays.
Yes.
Or
I would just say some of the places where you hear the most absurd things being said about what people can write or not are the ones that I did not make up. And you can come in afterwards, and if you're right, I'll buy you a beer.
you got to take her up on that. So can you give us a little bit of a sense of where Erasers is in its sort of new play development life cycle? Where have you heard it aloud before? Is it perfect in every way and finished? Where are you? Where is it in its life journey?
Perfect in every way and finished, of course. No, so first draft got written last summer in a sort of frenzy of absolutely no sleep at the University of Chicago. I really 2 hours a night. Then read it at my kitchen table once, revised. Then Bronwyn and I got together on Zoom with friends in Austin. I'm Austin-based. But Liz Frankel, who was here dramaturging Best for Baby, is a friend from Austin. So she actually gathered us in her living room, and Bronwyn joined my Zoom. So that was my second time and your first time hearing the play aloud. And then when we got here, Bronwyn was immediately in an assistant directing process, and I'm sure you'll have more to say about that. But so we were, every minute that you weren't in rehearsal, basically, we were talking about the play. And so I spent the first 2 weeks here revising, and we spent those first 2 weeks talking whenever Bronwyn had a sec. And then that was what we came into rehearsal with.
That's pretty new. That's a pretty new play.
It's pretty new.
Thank you for letting us be a part of its life cycle. This is really a question for all three of you, but I want to talk a little bit about comedy and the way that comedy lives in our season this summer at CTC, and then this comedy specifically, which strikes me as a very particular form of comedy. I like to call it fascism farce, but you probably have your own name for it. Can you talk to me about creating within this form, programming this form, how it meets its audience? Does it have particular challenges, particular gifts? What are the rules? Tell us more.
Okay, I'll start with, so it's very rooted in conversations with Jenny. Like, we spoke a lot. I really wanted to understand not only the whys, but the arc and the escalation, and it really became about that in the body, in the voice, in the space, how we interact with the room around us. All of that escalates through these 5 acts, and each act has its own form of comedy, which was an incredibly exciting challenge for me. I like things that are really, really difficult. I like to throw myself at them. But how to investigate different forms of physical comedy or language-based comedy and have it stitched together and then escalate into absolute madcap farce by the end. That's been the investigation, and the actors. I just want to have a moment and say something. These actors, this conservatory, they are wonderful, and they're so open, and they're so brave. They're like little flying squirrels. And whenever I ask them to try something, the answer is always yes. It's just such a joy to work with well, hello. With actors that do that while investigating comedy. So,
For anybody who got nervous when they heard 5 acts, it actually is running about 90 minutes, so
that's right.
it's okay.
It's tough.
Programming. Well, gosh, I wanted to start this season off in a celebration. It's America's 250th. I think it was important to have some laughter in this season. And there's many different American experiences on the stage this summer. A few of you were at the ribbon cutting, which was a biographical play, Ahoy Hoy, which was also based on reality, but very much a send-up. Best for Baby, which is based on a real story with a lot of theatrical imagination and art, but with humor. And Erasers, a bloodthirsty comedy, which is a workplace fascist, we call it fascist farce.
Yeah.
I love that. That's what it is. But it's looking at something very, very dark, very looming, and very right now, but it's doing it with humor. In the same way that I would say some of Best for Baby, there's a chilling story in there. What's our tagline? A very funny tragedy. I think sometimes to have the chewier conversations, a little laughter, when the world looks like this, it makes those necessary conversations easier to have. Not everything. Motions next week. But first, we're going to start the season off with Motions, which is Zora Howard's beautiful play. And I made that switch because I wanted to start it off with Ahoy Hoy, knowing that the Motions is more of a meditation. It's a strange relationship between a father and a son. It's at the end of their life. It's very slow. It's like the daily motions of that. It's a quiet play. So I knew it's an important piece, and we want that piece in here. She's a Pulitzer Prize finalist, but I didn't want to start the season with that. So part of the programming is also like the rhythm of tone, ending with Shakespeare and music, starting with a smaller comedy, having a huge comedy anchor this season. We've got a historical Bone Wars in our NPL, and then we have this brilliant fascist farce. So we're looking at a lot. And then August Wilson, which is also a biographical, a great American playwright, a black man's journey through America and being an artist. So they're all in conversation with each other in a way that you might not quite expect, but we're hoping to have a conversation at the end of the season about how to place for conversation with each other.
it strikes me almost as like scoring an album. You know, you've got your opener and then your kind of more mellow second track. Yeah. Okay. How am I doing on time, Jen? Okay, it's not my turn anymore. So I'm going to turn it over to your questions, and I see hands already. I'm going to. I will pass off the mic, and then you don't have to run. I don't want you.
Right there.
Ahoy, when the theater lost power and you became part of the play because you had to get telephones from the audience to read the script, and then you had to give direction to the cast when to begin, where to pick up the script. And it added so much energy to the play, and my question is, was there any thought of rewriting the play and having the theater lose power, and then kind of repeat what was, I don't think was in the play, and I also want to just commend you on your resilience and acting very quickly to get the play back on course.
Thank you. You're not the first person who asked that question. It's interesting because the emergency lights went off. We just mentioned Thomas Edison. It's a play about the invention of phones, and we couldn't get to the end of it without people using their phones. And it was the first public presentation of this season. I think it was a reminder to be here now and the power of like a shared moment in the theater. That's how I took it, but it's not going to be in the play. That was only for us.
I have a question for Bronwyn. You're really a mid-career person, and you're working with all these very young design fellows. Well, can you talk about that process, please?
Another really great question, yeah. I do have the benefit of back where I currently am in North Carolina. I do a lot of teaching, and it has kept my communication skills more honed with working with artists that are rising, that are coming up. But to be honest, I really approach it human to human. I often think of, like, my reference, my artistic mind is one circle, theirs is another, and I try to find the then. I try to find where our ideas and our language meet and are similar, and those are conversations about who they are as people and what excites them. So I really just try to think of them as fellow humans who also love art and try to find our similar ground.
So it's more collaborative
Yes.
than I would have imagined.
Yeah, it has to be. That's right, it has to be. And I think perhaps because I am at a sort of mid level in my career, I have learned that being overly dogmatic and it's this, it's me, it's this, just my ideas, the work is better. The work is better when I collaborate. The work is better when people who know how to do things are brought into it, and I allow my mind to be excited by what they bring.
And it's also part of the ethos of the program that we kind of say in the beginning, to appreciate everybody's coming from a different place, a different region, a different experience, a different program, with a different bio, to respect what everybody's bringing into the room, and that we're all bridging to somewhere else in our career. So I think that's something that hopefully we make as part of like the community agreements early on, and then are all collaborating and listening to each other.
Yeah, and I will add on to that is one of the first questions I asked each of the designers is what did reading the play, what ideas came up for you while you were reading the play? Like for sound, what did you hear, Robert? Like for Abby, what did you see? For Taylor, what is the structure? I asked them, again, trying to find our common language in our common language. Yeah, the frog. Oh yeah, oh thank you. I had, from the very start of reading this play, I just kept imagining frogs being boiled and how the water just slowly, and for me that is how fascism takes hold. It's not sudden, it's the water just gets hotter and hotter and hotter, and then by the time the frogs notice, it's too late. So I had an idea of the set being an enclosure of some kind, where those in the space were sort of in the pot, being froggies, being boiled.
And that kind of inspirational singular vision is such a great way for a true collaboration to start, because then you're leading it, but you planted the seed and inspired them to think within that. So
I would just, so when it comes to all this design stuff, it is Bronwyn and me on the sidelines going, I don't know, I'm just watching. But what I've been watching is some really extraordinary young designers. I mean, the things that Gabby, who is our costume design fellow, is saying, I think this is an idea, and then the next day you're looking at it on one of our actors, and it has involved, like detailed sewing. Abby, who's our lighting designer, who's like, I have an idea for some lighting, but the thing I need is back in my storage unit in Connecticut, so I'm going to take my day off and drive to Connecticut to get the thing we need. You're just, because part of the level of detail, thought, energy, yes-anding things that Bronwyn has come to the table with, and then doing whatever needs to happen to make the thing happen is just, it's gonzo. It's so cool. So, I mean, I'm mostly just typing and watching that stuff, but it's really neat. So.
Some might feel this is a very timely moment to do a play about fascism, but we don't know a lot about where you are with the play. We have a little shattered glass, shattered mirror view. I know there's a National Institute of Literary Advisors, and that's something to do with office supplies and fascism. So I don't know if you want us to go in that empty or you want to tell us a little bit more about it, but that's the first question. The other part of the question is, there's a great tradition of fascist satire. Sometimes from the point of view where you're watching the fascists, like The Great Dictator. There's a lot of, I think of films like Brazil or To Be or Not to Be, where you're sort of seeing it from the point of view of the victim. Where do you feel this play echoes or resonates with any of those?
I mean, I can only hope to approach most of those, right? I mean, that's the real answer is, I don't know, I hope I can get close. I will say that in writing it, Lily said something yesterday, she's like, the thing I like about you is you're not afraid to be stupid. And there's, dumb, misquotation. I think part of it is that my own reaction to things that make me angry tends to be that I get heightened in a way that can be silly. And so this play really was born from some pretty extreme frustration on my part and pushing to the edges of that. Certainly I am aware that I'm writing in the tradition of writers like Václav Havel and Ionesco. And so probably, like, if there's anybody who inspired, the degree to which that shows up in this, I don't know, maybe you're seeing Keystone Cops, which is one of the things that Bronwyn referenced, more than that. So I'll be curious what you see in it when you see it, but I was probably thinking first and foremost of the Eastern European writer, like that specific DNA. But I think I also just kind of gave myself permission to write whatever made me cackle as I was writing about something that makes me furious. So, but yes, it's a play. So I will tell you two things that are true. The first is that I have small children, and every time I walk into my office, they have taken my office supplies, which is maybe not a great thing to do to mom. And we built out our garage so my husband and I could each have an office. And I was so excited because I got the one that had this big picture window, and we built in a desk right in front of this picture window. And 6 months after it was finished, our next door neighbors tore down their house and built a 3-store monstrosity up to the property line, and then on the property line put a giant fence 3 feet, 4 feet from that window. And now I can't see anything. So those are 2 biographical stories that will show up in the play, and that is all that I will tell you about the play. But I will just say that this play maybe is less fictional than you think it is. Oh, but I say it's this room. It was very important to me. Some of the things that are in this play come as a result of things that are pet peeves as a writer, right? The thing that is true now in movies is that in order to have information, all anybody needs to do is get a cell phone call. And I think that like cell phones can ruin theater because it's like, well, all of the information is not necessarily coming from somebody being in the room. And so one of the first things that I wrote as I was starting to write this play was there are no telephones, there are no computers. This world rhymes with our world, but is not our world. And honestly, most of that was just the expediency of, I don't want emails, I don't want phone calls. Like if somebody's gonna either have to walk into this office to give us information, or maybe there's a telegram, I don't know. So that became a good reminder is that it is not exactly our world. There's a lot that speaks to our world, but there are those things that are intentionally not there in order to be able to create a certain kind of theatricality. Yeah.
I'm an avid theater goer. I go to Chicago maybe 2 times a month, and it's a 4-hour trip for me. One of the things I noticed since COVID reopened the theaters is that most of the plays are 90 minutes, no intermission. And at first I thought that was an adaptation that Steppenwolf and Goodman and Court were doing, in that they did not want people intermingling with each other. It's now past that time. And I noticed that the concessions and so on are not doing as well because there's no intermission. And I just wondered why this change has occurred in modern times in terms of the choices that the big theaters are making, at least in the Chicago area, and I wondered if you would comment on that.
I think we all have thoughts on this one, but do you want to go first, Jake? Go for it. Well, I will say that this play, when I got here 1 month ago, it was a 2-act play, and
I did not give the note to make it shorter.
No, and no one gave me a note
That
to
was
make
not
it
the
shorter.
direction.
Yeah, but I think sometimes the question is, what is the, not always, but there's that question of what does an intermission do to a play, and in terms of, with comedy, that idea of taking it in all in one gasp. And if you have an intermission and everybody gets to actually have a play where there's a whole monologue about hating intermissions. And it occurs right after the play's intermission. I think sometimes you're looking for what do you gain from an intermission in terms of people being able to go away and think about what they just saw and come back, but then also sometimes what do you lose in terms of people's focus from it. And if you're trying to take them on a ride, what does it mean to let them off of the ride in the middle of the roller coaster? And I think maybe that's just a little bit different than it used to be. But I know for me, I'm always like, have I earned a pause in the middle of this roller coaster ride, or not?
Yeah, I think I would second everything that Jenny is saying. I do want to say that I thought long and hard about it, specifically in the, Row Green, there's concessions. It's an important part of revenue for the theater, and I have that in my head. I think about it, and I did grapple with this for about a week, and then we together landed on no intermission because of the escalation of the farce. Like, it's a rocket ship. But I do think that there are some plays that would benefit from an intermission. And I think we're just becoming more mindful about it, about the placement of it. Yeah, but I hope to see both versions, the ones that are a rocket ship and the ones that have a moment and then bring you back in.
Yeah, I think it's ultimately about what the play wants. benefit from a break, or does it benefit from just driving through? And that's how I look at it. If now that we have concessions, if next summer that is able to like affect our, the theater's bottom line right now, it's 2 ways. Most regional theaters, the conversations I've been in other regional theaters, you kind of go, okay, you want one that has an intermission, you might want a musical that has intermission, you want like half of your season to be able to have some concessions. There are those conversations. But I was also in New York and like working at a big off-Broadway theater between 2008 and 2012. And the amount of times at Second Stage Theater, we were like Eurydice, Next to Normal, I mean a bunch of shows that are now in the canon and taught. And that was a huge time of 90-minute plays. I mean, to the point where Teresa Rebeck will be with us this summer. She was, I met her like 20 years ago as an assistant director on the scene, and that was part of the conversation. Is, gosh, does everything have to be 90 minutes? It's like, that was almost 20 years ago, but that's what was selling at that time. I also think our attention span generationally gets a little shorter and shorter. You can look at cartoons from when I was a kid and cartoons from now, just all the good clips are, and we do. You do a 3-act play. We haven't done one, but if I'm at a 3-act play, by the 3rd act, there's less audience. So all of those things go into the consideration, but because we have such a curious audience at Chautauqua, I don't hold myself to some of the same questions I would if I was running Goodman or Steppenwolf with like the percentage of how many intermissions do we need for concessions. Is this like balancing in that way? We're lucky enough to just go, what does the play want?
I want to ask a bigger question. You said that this is about the rise of fascism. Of course, I've not seen the play, so I don't know what angle you take on this. But I'm also from Texas. And I'm very curious about whether artists are self-editing, about whether you're feeling pressure because you're mostly working in the nonprofit. Sometimes some of the things that you're involved with are actually in part financed by government grants. And are you all feeling all of that now? And are you changing what you want to say so that you don't get in any trouble?
Speaking for myself only, yes and yes.
Speaking for myself, feeling it profoundly. Actually lost a grant that was in place for a play that I had that opened in Raleigh last year, and the female character deviated from what the grant guidelines had been put in place, so it was pulled back. And my mother calls it intrepid. I am stubborn. I am stubborn. I am so stubborn. I am like, you try to take this from me, you are in for a fight. I am not going anywhere. So I actually, and this is really kind of the first time I've said this publicly, even though I'm earning as a writer and director, I started driving for Lyft and Uber so I could pay my actors for that play. Because that's how determined. Like, no, you can try to take this from me, we will find another way. We, the artists, we are like water. We will find another way, we will carve a way. But it is a hard time right now.
I was like, the side note to the question is, I think that if you see our play, it is my direct response to what you're talking about. So I do think that there is something to, if you put creative people under pressure, they're not going to stop creating. And they're not going to stop fighting. you know, they're gonna find new ways to do it. Not that it's comfortable or fun, or should be this way.
And on that note, we are going to stop now this theater chat. But the conversation does not end. Please come and see us this weekend. Come see the stunning work that these two women are discussing today. Be part of the conversation in our talkbacks. Get your tickets in advance. And come join us next week for another theater chat. Thank you so much. Thank you to the Friends, Dr. Theater Company.